Yeah. Wake up with coffee and sports. Sunrise glow, listen coast to coast. A flow like you know.
Offensively, who made them? Oh, Patrick Mahomes.
Sideline to sideline with plays to show. This network's got the spark.
When you put up 300 yards rushing against someone, that you got your butt whooped.
I feel like I would have liked to see Oregon Ohio State in the semis, not the quarters. So I think some reseeding is probably where I would change. But
they're out of their mind. They're going to do this 3 quarterbacks in a row.
Here's the crazy.
I just can't take it.
Birds keep flying high, fans cheering loud, and one podcast moving through the crowd. Meaty boys brawling, no holds barred bout. This wire life never in doubt. Tune into the vibe.
That's my bold prediction for the show. Devin Booker, in the next 3 years, he will be a Houston Rocket.
Because I still think Seth is still at the top of his game. I do. I think he's right there. Who knows? Maybe. Not this year, but one time soon. Why wouldn't we potentially see Seth and Roman? One more, you know what I mean?
Tune in the vibe.
Guard on the mic tonight. News coming in left and right. Move better with the latest fight. Gene's got the insight tight. Champions rise and they fall. Wire to wire, got it all. Every move in every brawl. Tune in for the curtain call. Wrestling talk all night long. Catch the latest match and song. Ring the bell, let's get it on. Every story bright and strong. In the ring they clash and roar. New rivalries and so much more. Titles change and legends lore.
What is poppin', y'all? It's your boy, Guard E3, and welcome to the Meaty Boyz podcast. And of course, joining me, just like every week, he is the greatest of all time. He is Mo Better. How you doing, Mo?
I'm doing great. Tuesday night, me and you getting ready to talk some wrestling. You just came from a live event, so I'm interested to hear your experience. So let's get into it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I figured I'd start off with that, right? Like, have a little fun. And I figure, why not? I'll share some pictures that I took. I'll pull them directly from my Instagram here, so make sure y'all can see that. There we go. So the fun part, I was able to attend AEW Collision this past Saturday, and it's so much fun. Like, the beautiful part about an AEW live event is, the tickets are affordable, so that's really nice. In a day and age where, you have to pay an arm and a leg to get like WrestleMania tickets, and ticket prices are just going up. AEW tickets, they stay affordable, and you get there nice and early. You got some great merch from the merch stand. I picked up a Kenny Omega shirt when I was there, so that was a lot of fun. And like I said, to get these great seats with tax, only paid $72. So, like I said, really affordable, and it was a great time. I got a high five from Dante Martin. Got to see some more of the wrestlers close up. As you saw in the first picture, like Mercedes Moné, I got to see, Timeless Tony Storm was there. Jay White, I wish I could get a 6-pack like that. Athena made her long-awaited return to AEW that night.
That's awesome.
Say, here's poor Dante. He took a massive choke slam and then still took the time to give everybody a high five. So that was great. Such a great guy. Adam Cole was there. Hologram. He's so much fun to watch in the ring. The athleticism is off the charts. And, we also had the return of Jamie Hayter. Say she, and then here's Athena. She wrestled, Billy Starks. And overall, it was a great time. Like I said, I got some great pictures. I got to watch some great wrestling, some great stories. Saw Tony Khan a couple times. And, all credit in the world, too, to Tony Khan, right? Like, he's already been so successful. Like, he's already made this wrestling company the number 2 alternative in America. And this is a guy that he doesn't need to, come out after every single show and, thank the fans. He doesn't really need to do that. Like, we've gone to plenty of, wrestling shows where you won't really, see the owner that much. But, credit to Tony Khan. He takes time after he came out, right after AEW Collision went off the air. He thanked the fans. We sat through some Ring of Honor taping. We saw Dustin Rhodes. And he came out again to thank the fans. So he definitely makes it feel like, he cares a lot about the fans, just coming out multiple times to interact. And, for a guy who's a billionaire who could be anywhere, he could easily, delegate all that to somebody else. But, he doesn't. He chooses to do it himself. So it was a really great experience, really great wrestling. And I hope Tony Khan listened to us, because when he came out the second time, we were chanting pay-per-view at him. We're trying to get a pay-per-view here in Milwaukee. So I hope he was listening. It was a fantastic time.
Sounds like you had a great time, man. I'm a little jealous, a little envious, but you know what? There's always next time.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the big takeaways too, as I was watching Collision, was, one thing that AEW's just been knocking out of the park this year: women's wrestling. Like, they just might be the best booked women's wrestling show in North America. They might be better booked with it when it comes to women's wrestling than WWE. I think WWE has bigger, names, but I think AEW's just been on this amazing run in consistently making women's wrestling feel important. Like, the women opened the show. We opened it with Timeless Toni Storm. The biggest segment of the show was the return of Athena confronting Mercedes Moné. And the main event was, Jamie Hayter. So I do want to give him and just AEW credit for that, because they are doing a really great job at, booking the women and just making their stories seem just as important as the men's stories. And that's not always the case in every wrestling company, but you're really knocking it out of the park with that.
I like the way you phrased that. It's interesting because I think you nailed it. I think WWE has bigger names, and obviously they put on a bigger show. I think they did, when it comes to the show of it, they put on a bigger show. But I think what AEW has done with the women's division is they've found a balance between storytelling and the actual wrestling. And I think they focus more on the actual wrestling in the ring. And so I'm not saying WWE doesn't have some great talent. I'm saying AEW, even when I watch their television broadcast, Brett, the matches from the women feel like a pay-per-view match.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's beautiful. The one thing they've definitely seemed to hit their stride on this year too is just, improve storytelling as well. So it's almost like, it almost feels like 2021 AEW again, which, that's when Punk came in and they were hitting their stride. They were knocking it out of the park with storytelling. And, they've been picking it up in that regard lately when they deliver stories inside and outside the ring. So I've been loving what AEW's done. I think they're really trending upwards as of late. And I love to see it. At the end of the day, it's always good to have a solid number 2 wrestling company going on.
You don't have to sell me, partner. As a wrestling fan, I love it that AEW offers a strong alternative. Look, I'm old enough to go back to the times when there were like multiple wrestling federations. And so whether you were big on the NWA, big on Mid-South Wrestling, Georgia Championship Wrestling, WCW. Remember World Class Championship Wrestling with the Von Erichs? They ruled that era. I think there's room enough for an AEW. There's room enough for a TNA. Room enough for Ring of Honor and other wrestling. If you enjoy wrestling, yeah, WWE. I don't think they're going away. They're going to be king, but there's no shortage of talented alternatives.
Yeah, and I'll never understand the people that are like rooting for like some of these other companies to fail. Like I get it, you're loyal to WWE, but let's be real. Also, competition brings out the best. Like, when was the worst period in wrestling? It is when WWE had no competition and they just kind of coasted really hard, especially in like the late 2020s and like that 2019, 2020, right before AEW was created. That was really bad, and that turned a lot of people off. So it's great. I love it when multiple companies are thriving, and more wrestling for everybody.
And it keeps everybody sharp, right? Because it's obvious competition. So I think AEW makes WWE continue to step their game up.
Yeah, no, for sure. Now, speaking of AEW and Tony Khan, they got referenced in a pretty talked about promo on Monday Night Raw.
Yeah.
John Cena finally did it. We've been waiting for John Cena to unload on Cody Rhodes. And he finally did it this week. He told them exactly why he doesn't like him and how he's fake. Before I get into my, thing on this, Mo, I wanted to start off with you. What did you think of the John Cena and Cody Rhodes promo back and forth?
I loved it. Here's the thing that shows you that John Cena is a great performer. Cody Rhodes has gotten a lot better on the mic, but you and I both know John Cena is one of the best to ever do it. And he set Cody Rhodes up for lobs to where Cody Rhodes could respond, right? I mean, that's being a world-class talent. That's selling the storyline. And yet at the same time, John Cena on the mic can be vicious. Like, if he wasn't gonna make fun of something, he wouldn't mention it. Like when he said, "I don't care about your lisp." Like, why would you say that if you didn't care? Like, John Cena was taking a lot of backhanded shots that it felt like he's felt this way for a long time, so it went over great. I thought this promo between the two of them has been the best they've had so far.
Yeah, I love that beginning, Mo, because it felt like Cody Rhodes was just trying to take like the B-Rabbit form of defense from 8 Mile.
Right.
This guy ain't no MC. I know everything he's got to say against me. Like, he just tried to take a page straight out of 8 Mile with this one, and Cena just ate it up. But that being said, I think whether you want to say Cody Rhodes won this mic battle or John Cena won this mic battle, I think this showed just how good Cody Rhodes can be on the microphone.
Yeah.
Because what happened when we threw some other all-time greats against John Cena on the microphone? What happened when John Cena and Roman Reigns went together on the microphone? People still talk about how badly he got wrecked back in 2017. Even the greatest mic man of all time, some would say, The Rock, got completely shredded by John Cena at times on the microphone. So Cody coming in and holding his own is impressive. The fact that we can have a conversation of who won is impressive, because normally when John Cena hits this gear, there's only one winner, and his name is John Cena. So Cody holding his own was mad impressive.
I give you that. Look, and look, it's really impressive that Cena this far into his career is still as dope as he is on the mic when he needs to be. By comparison, when The Rock gets on the microphone now, he can be entertaining and he's loud, but you can tell he doesn't have the same mic skills that he had when he was a full-time performer. Cena is still sharp as attack, and to your point, I give Cody a lot of credit because he stepped his mic game up. he came prepared. I do enjoy the fact that he came out with the B Rabbit strategy, which, by the way, was actually brilliant. And it held up. But Cena's a Viper, and Cena kind of came for it. And yet Cody had responses to the response. And that's what makes it dope. Like, I'm loving, we know we're getting close to WrestleMania because the promos are all heating up. The storylines are all heating up. So again, this is where WWE and Triple H and creative, this is where they shine at.
And you know, it's funny because I do want to mention the line that, because there are a lot of great lines. First off, John Cena saying, "I don't bury talent, I bury mediocrity."
Right.
When one of the guys he kind of did that to was Wade Barrett, who was sitting at the commentary table, was absolutely hilarious. But the one line about Tony Khan, and this is what I found funny. You know, I make empires for billionaires. You just steal money for their kids. you know, I find it funny that some people actually were trying to say, like, you make empires for billionaires. That's not a flex. And I thought the opposite. When I saw people trying to argue against that line, I'm like, that's a major flex. Like, in order to make empires for billionaires, you have to be the franchise player.
Facts.
You don't make empires for billionaires by being Steve Kerr or John Paxton. You make empires by being Michael Jordan.
I love that reference. I was going to say something a little bit meaner. I was going to say you don't make empires by being Coco Beware or SD Jones or the Brooklyn Brawler. You make empires by being John Cena, who's in the conversation, certainly for greatest of all time.
Yeah, so I found that funny when people are like, well, that's not a flex. I'm like, that's the opposite. That's a major flex. Like,
that's a Hulk Hogan flex.
Like, the fact that, because, listen, if you drop in value to a billionaire, they'll kick you to the curb. Like, no doubt about it. But the fact that after 20 plus years that, you know, this guy, you know, Cena is still on top, oh my gosh, that's a huge flex for him. So I just found that weird that people were trying to discredit that. Like, that isn't a flex. I'm like, quite the opposite. That's a huge flex, actually.
Agreed. I did not get that. I did not get that response. I saw online where people were kind of coming that way. I did not get that at all. I thought that was a massive flex. Maybe they didn't get the reference point, but I did. John Cena, to me, he's in his element, and he's really bought into being a heel. And I'm enjoying this side of him. You and I both know at some point he will regress back to the John Cena we've known for the better part of 20 years. But showing that he has this type of range to embrace this type of character, it's fun.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like I said, all the credit in the world. If John Cena very well could have just coasted his entire retirement tour as a good guy, and nobody would have batted an eye. We would have all ate it up. But he wanted to give every fan what they wanted, and has given us a fantastic heel turn so far. So, speaking of, you know, the road to WrestleMania heated up, Mo. Yeah, this is why I've always been telling people to stay patient, because they're talking about, you know, Yeet Man and Gunther's story. It's not going anywhere. I was just like, you know, be patient. This will kick into overdrive at some point.
Yeah, it just got personal.
Yeah, well, turns out what this storyline needed was Big Jim Uso, who, you know, slapped Gunther last week, and he paid the price for it this week. Mo, what do you think about just this whole Jay and Gunther storyline and the addition of, you know, Jimmy into the equation?
I love the storyline because I think it's the kind of storyline that opens up extended storylines within the story. Jim's part in it is realistic. Jim's telling Jay, "You're gonna beat this dude, but I think I can beat this dude. Like I'm still competing. I'm still trying to win." He's like, "I'm gonna handle him, and then you're gonna handle him at WrestleMania." And Gunther, ever the strategist, ever calm, cool, and collected, is like, "Okay, you slap me. I'll take it in stride." And here's the thing. I don't think we doubted Gunther was going to win the match, right? Jimmy's fun to watch. He's entertaining. and he's competitive. But look, Gunther's just a better performer, the bigger star. We knew he was going to win. What we didn't know is how far he was going to go beyond that. And once he went to that next level, it got so much more entertaining. Their storyline got so much more entertaining. The matchup for WrestleMania, it was big, but it's so much more interesting and bigger now. Like you said, people were a little bit leery of the matchup because it didn't have as much heat. It kind of went from lukewarm to like caliente hot, right? Like it's crazy what they did to the storyline, and I'm here for it.
And it's almost like that this is exactly what needed to happen, right? Because, I love this story they were telling with Jay, how he's uncertain if he can actually beat him. He's slipping up. He's making mistakes. And this is what they needed to do. Sacrifice, Jimmy, unlock that, demon inside of Jay and, bring back the right-hand man, the more aggressive guy that, came close to knocking off Roman Reigns. And, being the only, the first guy to pin Roman Reigns after he turned into the tribal chief. So I thought this was a fantastic ad. Plus, it gave us that picture. And I think when we look back at Gunther's world title reign and just his career in general, this will be like maybe the most iconic photo from it.
I don't disagree with that. And whether or not Jay beats him at WrestleMania, anybody that think Gunther's going to fade to black, I disagree. I think Gunther's going to remain one of the top stars, and he'll win another belt. He's going to have gold around his waist at some point in another storyline, whether if he should lose. But I'm not so sure that's a lock to happen. It might, but I don't think it's a lock to happen because I think this is kind of like we said what Jay needed. I think this is what Gunther needed, right? He needed this kind of heat because his title reign had been a little bit quiet, a little bit slowed. They really didn't give him a consistent adversary outside of Damian Priest. And let's keep it a buck. Nobody really thought Damian Priest could beat him. So I think this turn, this storyline, now that it's a little bit more personal, it's going to be interesting to watch. So I just think it got a lot better, a lot more compelling.
It's wild to think that Gunther's pretty much been a champ like the entire time he's been in the WWE. Like he comes into the WWE, immediately wins like the NXT like UK championship and holds on to that like for over 800 days.
That's crazy.
He comes up to the main roster, immediately like wins the IC title, loses that just to like win the world title like just a couple months later. Like this man is a champion through and through, and he just works so well because he's just such a change of pace. He's such a throwback character, and I think people just resonate with that.
I like that. I think he's a throwback character, and if you see him in the ring, he's a throwback wrestler. Like he has some high impact moves, but a lot of the things he does is very technical. He's very old school.
Yeah, he's old school in all the best ways. That's absolutely for sure. And of course, these three capped off the night. It ended with a double disqualification, kind of like what we predicted, right? Like there'd be some sort of shenanigans at the end to make this a triple threat. So I'm curious. Like I thought to me, it was kind of funny. Like Rhea being kind of delusional is kind of funny to me because, after the match, after she's doing her interview and she's like, Bianca screwed me. Where was she? Where was the referee? Like, Rhea, you kicked her in the face. That's where she was.
Yeah. But look, I remember what I said. I stand by this. For this to work and for this to become a triple threat match, somebody had to be a heel. Io's not the heel. Bianca's still not a heel, at least not yet. But clearly, Rhea being so delusional, like, right, you knocked her out of the ring. At one point, you looked and saw her outside of the ring, and you were yelling at her, get back in her and count, as if she took a leisurely walk outside the ring to not do her job. Like, they're bringing out a different character in Rhea. And look, I think it's interesting. Clearly, she's going to be a heel. The question is somebody else going to join her as a heel? Because I think that remains to be seen. But we both said there wasn't going to be a clear conclusion because if there was, then there wouldn't be a triple threat. So we knew it would be some kind of shenanigans. I just didn't think it would go the route that it did because, Bianca getting frustrated to the point where she said, "I had it. That's enough." That's kind of a lame way to end the match or something like that, to go, "I've had enough." Like, you're a wrestler, man. Get back in there and just call the match. She actually did a fairly good job as a referee up until that point. But look, I'm enjoying the storyline. And look, I think Triple H and creative, I think they will throw us another curve within this storyline. Everybody's saying, like, well, either Bianca's going to be the champ or Mommy's going to be the champ. We're all literally just well, I'm not, but a lot of people are just writing off Io as, well, Io's just holding the belt till one of them beat her. Io Sky is amazing. And it wouldn't shock me if they threw us a curveball and somehow she walked out the champ, but maybe she lost it on the following Raw or something like that. But I just think that they're throwing so many curveballs. Everything that seems very obvious, I don't think is that obvious.
That's fair enough. And I found it weird too. Like, I love the fact that WWE was just in Europe for this whole WrestleMania tour, because European fans are just the best. They're passionate about everything. I found it weird though that all of a sudden, like, for like 3 weeks in a row, no matter where she went, it's clear they're trying to turn Rhea heel, but like the European fans were just booing Bianca Belair. I'm like, what did Bianca do to you guys?
I thought it was just me, right? So we knew that Rhea was turning heel, but even Rhea as a heel was getting more cheers than Bianca. Like, they're booing the hell out of Bianca. I'm like, do they know something we don't know in advance? Like, I was like, wow, they're gonna force her to become a heel. They don't love her like that overseas, apparently.
Yeah, that's odd. And I was shocked that we didn't see. I was shocked that we didn't really see Bailey at all on this tour too.
That was odd because she's really popular overseas. She's one of the more popular stars in all of WWE. Never mind women's division, but just in the company alone. So I hope Bailey has no health problems or family issues. Shout out to Bailey. You were missed.
Yeah, and if anybody doesn't know, when she was in NXT, and this has just followed her throughout the entire main roster run. Anytime she goes to Europe, they'll start the, "Hey, Bailey, I want to know if you'll be my girl" chants. And it's always really fun. Like, she's just massively over in that market.
Right.
So I was actually kind of stunned when they went like the whole like tour and I didn't really see her at all. So.
And they went the whole tour booing Bianca. like even like Bianca's outside the ring watching one match. She's inside the ring as the referee. And they were just, every time she was involved with the other two in the ring, whether it was a signing, she received I would call it a heel's welcome, right? And again, I don't know how this ends up. I'll say that what they've done is they've piqued my interest, because I'm looking at Io Sky and I go that every time the three of them get together, nobody's more disrespected than Io. So I think Io's going to be more motivated than anybody to come out of that with the belt.
Absolutely. I would love to see Bianca win because, I think they should build up her WrestleMania winning streak a little bit, and really give some young up-and-comer the rub when they have somebody eventually knocks her off. I think that would be, great for them to do. Like, even if she just got to like 6-0 and then let's say Roxanne beats her at WrestleMania.
I would love that. I mean, I'm not rooting against Bianca, but I like the idea that it would be somebody that's up and coming who's so talented like Roxanne. I'm here for that match already.
Just, if they're gonna go this route of undefeated streak, though, just don't kind of what you did with the Undertaker there when Brock Lesnar beat it. Like, just pick somebody who actually is up and coming and can get a boost out of it. I don't want to see Bianca's undefeated streak end because Charlotte Flair beats her at WrestleMania. To me, they'd have a great match, but then I'd just be mad at the booking because that would be awful.
And it's not like it would add any more shine on Charlotte, right? She can't get any bigger than what she is. You're right. If you're going to do that, then let it be one of the younger stars and they get elevated from it, like a Roxanne. Look, I know Tiffy's holding a belt right now, But would I love to see Tiffy take on Bianca Belair for another champ? Absolutely. I think that would be an amazing match. So if you're going to elevate some of the younger stars, which is what I think they should do, I'd love that.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, yeah, I do think that, speaking of Tiffy, I think they need to turn her back heel.
She doesn't come across. I mean, she's likable as a face, but she was so much better as a heel.
Yeah, she almost gives me like natural heel vibes. Like,
that's what it is. She's a natural heel.
How like the Miz can play a good guy, but he's not great at it. He's just a much better heel. You know, someone like MJF can play a heat face, but he's just such better heel. Tiffy's like, and a fine face, but she's just such a great heel that I think that they should just turn her back when the first chance they get, honestly.
Yeah, I like arrogant Tiffy a lot better than the current face Tiffy. I know that obviously she's going up against Charlotte, so she's going to remain a face at least for the foreseeable future. But should she turn, nobody will be happier than me.
Yeah, I think as soon as the Charlotte feud's over, granted, I don't think you can get anybody to cheer Charlotte over Tiffy at this point. So, yeah, I think next feud that should happen. Speaking of, feuds, we're talking WrestleMania, Mo. We now know what both nights' main events are. We can just assume that night 2 WrestleMania main event's going to be John Cena versus Cody Rhodes. I can't see any match topping that. But the mystery is over. The night 1 WrestleMania main event is officially Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins versus CM Punk. And just to clarify, that is not the favor that CM Punk is owed. What did you think about that whole contract signing that they had?
I still think they keep it a little bit shrouded in mystery, which I get it. It's intriguing because if that's not the favor, then what's the favor? That he gets a title shot? It's got to be something like he either gets a title shot, or if Reigns or Rollins wins the belt, he's the first contender. It's got to be something like that, because that's what CM Punk's about. Yeah, he's having his WrestleMania main event, but he said he planned on winning the World Heavyweight Championship. So I have to think the favor is somehow connected to that.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that, he'll get a shot, whoever wins, whoever comes out. And it's, it's funny, I would almost love it if Gunther won and we got Punk versus Gunther, the first feud after WrestleMania for the World Heavyweight title.
That would be fun. I like that matchup.
I think Jay will win, and I think he'll get a short run. But I would almost love it if Gunther did not only pull it off, because it just feels like there's so many opponents left untapped for Gunther. Even just the guys mentioned, we didn't run, Punk versus Gunther. Did we really ever tap that much into a Gunther versus Seth Rollins feud?
Right.
Apparently, those are just 2 feuds alone that could take all the way up to SummerSlam, which after SummerSlam in September, we're going to be apparently getting the return of Ilya Dragunov. That's another potential feud for Gunther.
One of my favorite performers. I love that kid.
Yeah, go after the guy who put you on the shelf with an injury. I'm gonna be let me be clear. I'm gonna be happy for Jay if he wins. I think he's earned it. I think he's deserved it. But it also feels like there's just so much untapped potential with this Gunther title reign that if he won, I wouldn't be upset at all.
I wouldn't either. I was thinking about if Jay won. Does Jay have a really short run, or does he get kind of a Bob Backlund push? And I'm not saying he holds the belt for 5 years like Bob Backlund, but don't you feel like Jay has the possibility of maybe holding the belt for almost a year, because he can have one of those runs where every title defense, the champion's going to be the underdog, right? If you put Jey Uso versus CM Punk, underdog, versus Seth Rollins, underdog, Roman Reigns, underdog. When you think of the top names, Jay's going to be the underdog and he's the champ. So I think that's an interesting proposition if you can sell people on the fact that Jay will have to overachieve every time to win. So I don't think he's going to hold it for a long time, but I don't want him to have one of those Jay wins the belt and he holds the belt for a month. Like give him a little bit of a decent run. Let him go up against some of the bigger names and maybe pull off an upset or two before he loses the belt.
I just figured if I had to guess with Jay, it'll probably be to like Money in the Bank or SummerSlam and give him a couple months. It feels like this is building up to more of a moment than a long title reign. Like when Gunther won, you're like, yeah, this is going to be a long title reign. With Jay, it almost feels like we're more building up for the moment. I don't think Jay's one of those champions that's going to have a really long title reign, like a Gunther, a year-long title reign. It almost feels like he's going to more have like a Kofi Kingston title reign where he's going to hold it for like 2-3 months and then, drop it, which get some wins over, established talent. Like obviously Kofi got wins over like Randy Orton. I think he beat Samoa Joe somewhere in there. But yeah, I think that's kind of what I'm expecting out of a Jey Uso title reign. 2-3 months, beat a couple names, and then drop the title.
That made Kofi, to me, when you beat Randy Orton, that solidified Kofi as a superstar by himself. But I'm not going to lie. When he beat Samoa Joe, I predicted Samoa Joe would take it. Like, Samoa Joe is a bad man in the ring. He's a bad man. And the fact that they, the match went the way it did in Kofi, but to me, that was like an upset. It was a great upset, but it was an upset. I think they give Jay if he wins, a decent run, but you're right. It's not going to be one of those Jey Uso's been wearing the belt for 1,300 days or something like that. I think Jay it'll elevate his profile. He'll drop the belt to one of the bigger names. And then he'll probably fall right into another feud. And because he's so popular, he won't need the belt to still generate heat.
Yeah, and what's funny? I think there's I think there's going to be a built-in feud for him. We talk about I think a perfect first feud for him. What about someone like Randy Orton?
Wow.
That's
interesting.
I think Randy Orton versus Jey Uso, like he could also be the guy to, be the guy. That granted, it might not be right away. I think obviously Randy Orton could end up being, John Cena's first opponent if he wins the title. We got Backlash. It's in St. Louis and Randy Orton's hometown. I don't think they'll be too eager to turn him, heel right away. But I could also, I could see, like, if he loses that Backlash, like, for example, the John Cena, or even, let's say he has a matchup with Cody Rhodes and he loses, I could see him start to go a little insane, and then maybe he takes out his frustrations and then turns heel and he goes after Jey Uso.
Look, the best Randy Orton is heel Randy Orton. Heel Randy Orton wins titles. And if Randy Orton wants to make things interesting where he's right on Cena's heel, it's funny how I said that, he'll become a heel again. I don't think Randy Orton's going to win the belt as a face, but he will. But as a heel, I absolutely can see that.
Hey, or if he just turns heel at WrestleMania and joins John Cena, I could see him just straight up beating Jey Uso at Backlash.
By the way, because we still don't know, because The Rock hasn't appeared, but and I know Cena's not going to be the only guy, let's say, in The Rock's pocket. Right. It could be a Randy Orton or someone else, but there's another superstar out there that's part of that team.
And you know what? If we're going to do this thing where we turn John Cena heel, I might as well go all the way, kind of form a modern-day two-man power trip instead of Triple H and Austin. Why not Randy Orton and John Cena and, The Rock when he's there?
I like it. 3 of the biggest names with the biggest egos. That works.
And it would be real easy to. And the best part about that too is obviously you can slowly, build up hype towards an eventual John Cena versus Randy Orton feud.
Agreed.
So I'm looking forward to that. I would still, if they went that direction, I would still love to see like The Rock take an RKO if Randy's the one that they turn face. I know it won't happen. I doubt The Rock would be down, but I think that'd be great.
Oh, I'd love to see that. Speaking of great matchups, what do you feel about this different version of Naomi coming out? Where she's a little bit deranged. I think this it's one thing to just turn heel, but she's kind of turned a little bit off kilter, which makes her more interesting, right?
Yeah, I love it. Listen, I've never been the biggest Naomi fan, but my biggest like kind of beef with Naomi was never about Naomi the wrestler. Naomi, it was more so about Naomi the character and presentation, because it's always been, feel the glow, and it's been that way for like how long now? It's been forever. She just felt like the same stale, like stagnant character, and she didn't really like add that many dimensions to it. So I just kind of became disenfranchised with her, feel the glow character. I get it. It sends a great message. But now all of a sudden, like, I'm really interested in Naomi now because she, turns and she pulls off this fantastic promo on SmackDown. Just, very deranged. I loved it. I love what Naomi did. And I'm super excited to see what, her and Jade pull off going forward.
Yeah, so let's be clear. Jade is bigger, more powerful. She's the bigger star. And yet, this current version of Naomi becomes dangerous because anything's on the table. And look, in ring, she's a better in ring. I'm talking about in terms of how she moves, her finishers. She's a lot better than Jade is right now at that. So I think that makes for a more compelling match suddenly. Like before, you would have thought Jade's going to walk in and it'll be over in 2 minutes. And now all of a sudden, it's interesting because Naomi's not only a heel. My guess is because she has so many connections in the locker room, she's probably already found another heel partner, if you will.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I would love to see it. Maybe some of the ladies from NXT come up and back her up. That'd be a great way to get noticed, getting added into this feud.
Oh, what's this really strong girl? Is it Laz?
Oh, Lash Legend?
Lash, she would be perfect to roll with Naomi because one, she's big and powerful. You kind of need that big, powerful bodyguard just in case. So I would love if they brought her and a couple of the other ladies up.
Although, going back to heels, I will say this, Mo. If they actually do turn Rhea Ripley heel, I don't want her to be that, heel that runs away from everything. I want her to almost be like closer to like how, Brock Lesnar was a heel, but he'd still engage in a lot of fist fights and, he would back down, but it would be more strategically.
I agree.
I hope they do that with Rhea.
I'm with you. It doesn't work with Rhea becoming the heel where suddenly you can chase Rhea Ripley out the ring, right? That doesn't work. The person that could sell that, even though she's powerful in her own right, I think Bianca could sell that better. You know what I mean? Like Rhea almost has this ultra super strength thing, right? And for her to turn heel, I can't see Rhea Ripley running out the ring, right? Like if you're Rhea Ripley and you're like, oh my God, here comes Bayley. That doesn't she's not gonna run from Bayley. You know what I mean? So I'm with you. If Rhea's gonna become the heel, then she needs to be modeled after the Brock Lesnar type of heel where, oh, you're coming after me? All right, I'm waiting right here for you, right? We're gonna fight.
No, absolutely. And I'm really excited to see just in general what they do with all the different, ladies in the division. It's a fantastic time to be a fan of women's wrestling right now.
It really is.
Like, no matter which company you look at, WWE, AEW, they're just putting on some of their best work. So,
God, man, I gotta tell you, Toni Storm is amazing. Is she not? Like, she's like the total package, but in a different. She's kind of old school. If you think about it, her approach, she's technical, but she can brawl. Like Tony Stark can do. I mean, Toni Storm is amazing.
I completely agree. I love the work that Tony's done, especially like once she lost the title. You see a lot of people just come back as the same character, and Tony did, but like she did it in such a way that was so unique. Like she came back, as her original Tony Storm character, and almost went through like kind of phased through every single one of her characters, almost like a Three Faces of Foley kind of thing, until she finally revealed that she was still indeed timeless Tony Storm. Like, she takes a unique approach about everything, and that's what I love about her. Like, it's just completely unpredictable as to what that she's gonna do next.
No, I mean I'm a big fan. I'm always looking for the next big match. I'd love to see Tony Storm go up against the boss herself, right? I want to see her go up against Mercedes, right?
Yeah, hey, they say Tony did name drop Mercedes this past week. So listen, there's rumors that I thought Athena versus Mercedes was going to be the match for, AEW All In. But there's rumors that it might actually happen this coming week at Dynasty.
Oh, wow. That'd be amazing.
If that does happen at Dynasty, then I really think that's just the go-to match. Like, everybody's entered into the Owen Cup Invitational. The winner gets a world title match at, AEW All In. And if you're running Athena versus Mercedes at Dynasty, I think at that point, the next biggest dream match you can have, and just the biggest one you probably have in the entire division, is just Mercedes versus Tony Storm at All In. So I think that, honestly, at this point, that's probably just the right move for All In. So it's going to be great.
It's a great time to be a wrestling fan. The storylines just keep growing. We're going to find out a lot more come Friday with what they're doing in WWE. I'm excited to see what's going to happen on SmackDown. So yeah, look, as we get closer to WrestleMania, which I'm so ready for it.
So yeah, fair enough. And speaking of WrestleMania, Mo, as we, on our site, we've been hosting a fun little tournament. What is the greatest WrestleMania main event of all time? Except it's voted on by you guys, the fans. And we've got, good amount of feedback. We have been making these Google forms, and we've been, just having votes on them. Well, we're 2 rounds in, Mo. Like, the second round officially closed up today, and our third round matchups are already set. So, thought we'd just have fun while we have time here at the end and reveal our third round matchups for this coming week. So, in the third round, our matchups are, we have WrestleMania 40's Night 2 main event, Roman and Cody, versus WrestleMania 35's first ever women's main event. Say,
that's a tough matchup because the women's main event is the first of its kind, right? So you can only be one first, and I think the match was an entertaining match. But I thought the Roman and Cody match was it was drama. It was electricity from beginning to end. And obviously, look, run-ins in wrestling are very common. But these were the run-ins, and the way things kind of played out at the end of that match was so amazing, so historic. There was a lot of OMG moments. I'm still going to go with Roman and Cody.
Yeah, that's where my vote's going to end up going. I'll definitely be curious to see how everybody else votes. But, yeah, I think Roman and Cody has a real shot to make a run to the finals. But, it's a stacked field because the next matchup we have now, I posted the wrong. This is actually Rock and Austin from WrestleMania 15. I just really like this picture they had from 17. But Rock and Austin for WrestleMania 15 versus Bryan versus Batista versus Orton in a triple threat match from WrestleMania 30.
I thought the triple threat match was excellent, man. But Rock and Austin have a natural chemistry. You can see how competitive they are. Man, this is a tough call because I really enjoyed both. I will go with Rock and Austin.
I'll say, see, we're gonna split on this one because I'm gonna go with the triple threat. I think WrestleMania 15 was a good match, but with the crowning of the Yes movement with Brian winning,
I remember.
I think that was just such an all timer of a moment that if this was actually WrestleMania 17, then this would be almost impossible to choose from. So I'll be interested. This will be interesting too. We got WrestleMania 39, Roman and Cody, versus WrestleMania 31, also known as the Heist of the Century, with Rollins, Reigns, and Lesnar. This one, I'm not gonna lie, Mo. I think I'd go the Heist of the Century here.
I would too. And I'm not saying that Roman and Cody wasn't good, but the Heist of the Century, especially the latter part of the match, was electric. So yeah, that's what I would go with.
No, absolutely. Then this is tough. The Usos versus KO and Sammy versus Roman, Bryan, and Edge. I know they're not the bigger names, but I'd go the Usos versus KO and Sammy. I think that was just maybe the greatest tag team match in WWE history. Like, that's how good it was. From a technical in-ring standpoint, I don't think there's anything that, touches that match.
It was a banger. The bigger names are in the other match, but I'm with you. I think the tag team match was actually the more entertaining match.
Say we have Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker, streak versus career, or Triple H and Batista.
It's hard to go against the Dead Man and the Heartbreak Kid. As great as Triple H and Batista are, I just think the Undertaker and Shawn Michaels have great chemistry.
Yeah, I agree. I think that they were both, fantastic matches, but I think the Undertaker and Shawn just had a chemistry that night that was just untouched. Only can be matched by a few. And I don't think Triple H and Batista, matched what they did that night. So I would definitely go WrestleMania 26 for that one. This is tough. Lesnar, Angle, or Hart and Shawn.
So I think if you watch both matches, I'm going to give the edge. I'm just talking about the match. I'm talking about the moves, the technical moves, the finishers. I think I would give the edge to Angle and Lesnar because Angle, people forget how strong Kurt Angle is. Like, he was able to at times match Brock Lesnar's strength with his technicality and his ability to wrestle multiple styles. But if I'm gonna go with the match that made me feel more, that I was more invested in, it's Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this one is just what do you prefer more. I think Angle Lesnar is going to be technically the better wrestling match.
Yeah,
but the boyhood dream has come true, and this everything about the Iron Man match is just so iconic that it's going to be tough to knock off. Now, this is the actual WrestleMania 17 matchup. We got the Austin era has begun, or Steve Austin versus The Rock, WrestleMania 17. Some might say this is one of the great. They're both so iconic moments, like the start of the Austin era and the heel turn for Stone Cold. So this is another one that's almost impossible, it feels like.
And I was here for both of them. I loved the beginning of the Austin era, but I also liked Stone Cold was one of those performers that was great as a heel and as a face. This is tough. I'm going to lean towards the start of the Austin era.
Hey, fair enough. Like I said, this one's going to be interesting because I think they're so close that I don't know what way this one's going to go. And what's funny? The last round, the closest match was actually with Sasha and Bianca. Hey, what's up, Cottrell?
Hey, how's it going, Cottrell? Appreciate you.
Sasha and Bianca in the last round were actually in the tightest race. They were going up against AJ Styles and The Undertaker. And it was literally went down to the last vote put him over the edge. So We got Sasha and Bianca, or once in a lifetime, John Cena versus The Rock from WrestleMania 28.
So let me just put this out there. The Sasha and Bianca match was outstanding, entertaining. Like what I saw when I watched it was just two great performers. But the match between Rock versus Cena, the once in a lifetime, the build up, the back and forth on the mic, I have to go with that.
Yeah, and I think this is another one where I actually think that this, Sasha versus Bianca, I think the actual in-ring work between the women were probably better than John Cena and The Rock.
I would agree.
But John Cena and The Rock made up for that by just telling this fantastic story of, just John Cena getting full of himself, getting overconfident. He should have won the match, and he hadn't won at multiple points. But his ego got in the way, and it cost him, and The Rock pulled it off. So I think what they lack for in-ring work in this matchup, they make for just a fantastic story to tell. And they still put on a really good match. So I'm looking forward to seeing how the second round plays out. But just wanted to share where we are with our bracket. And that's all the time we really have for today. So, Mo, anything you want to add before we get up on out of here?
No, I appreciate everybody for joining us. Make sure you join us same time next week. Appreciate Cottrell stopping in. All the great content we have at Wire to Wire Network. Wire to Wire Network. We appreciate you guys.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's going to be fun. You can catch us at the same time next week. April 8th we'll be here. And then just a reminder, April 15th, the week after that, we won't be here because that is the week of WrestleMania, and our Meaty Boys are just going to be WrestleMania watch-alongs. So I'll be looking forward to Mania coming up, 17 days away. Next week, we'll do some WrestleMania predictions and predict kind of more on how the card's going to go. So, and it is pay-per-view week for AEW. They have their AEW Dynasty pay-per-view this week, Sunday the 6th. So we're going to have a lot to talk about next week.
I'm excited.
So make sure you tune into that. But until then, we thank you very much and hope you guys enjoy the rest of your night.